Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lessons in Leadership series brought to you by Manage the Docs, a community for technical communication leaders. My name is Akash. We are back with another leadership lesson for you guys. And today, I'm speaking with a special guest, Torrey Podmajersky, who works at Google as UX writer. She's a true UX writing pioneer. As a content developer for Microsoft's Xbox, she cultivated the skills she now uses at Google. She helps teams solve business and customer problems using UX content. She has written inclusive and accessible experiences for OfferUp, Xbox, Microsoft Account, Windows apps, privacy and Microsoft Education, and now Google. She's the author of Strategic Writing for UX, which includes insights she has gained over 10 years of UX writing practice. Thanks, Tori, for accepting our invitation and offering to share UX insights, writing insights with us.
Thanks so much, Akash.
And I have a couple of questions for you, but before I go there, I just want to learn from you and understand how did you get into something so niche? Because a lot of writers in the industry would want to know this.
Yeah, UX writing is kind of a hot topic now, but when I started, it was not possible to put out a job description for it. And that's actually how I got started. So I had been a technical writer for my family's very small business as a
Mhm.
girl, even before going to college. And then I got a physics degree, which is the most practical and obvious thing. And then I taught high school science for 9 years. So none of this is a traditional either technical writing or UX writing background.
Mhm.
And then I was getting tired of teaching. Like there gets to be a point where you've taught all that you can teach, and yet the kids keep coming, and they're the same age. So I took a step back from that and sort of went back into software, and went to Microsoft, where I first took a contract doing internal communications and stuff like that. And my manager there said, my who was in business management said, "You need to go work on product. You're very smart. Go work on product." And I said, "Doing what? Like, what could I do? Ex-teacher, a curriculum degree, a physics degree." And I looked at technical writing, and I talked to the manager of the Xbox writing team. And he says, "I have a problem. I can't hire for this job. I can hire as many technical writers as I want." And he had a great team of technical writers writing content for developers to code games for the console.
Mhm.
But to write the screens so that, and the bar was so that teenagers or even a 9-year-old could wake up on Christmas morning, find an Xbox under the tree, and set it up successfully themselves.
Yeah.
The language on the screens needs to carry that through. And so he said to me, you can, he says, "I know you don't have any experience in this. Nobody does in 2010. But what you can do is explain abstract concepts to teenagers in a way they understand that they can take a test on later. So you can do this." And he talked me into it. And how lucky am I that I had a prospective hiring manager who wanted to talk me into a job. And then I had a team that I could learn from on the job what it
Right.
was to work with UX, to work with design and product and engineering, and make strings for the console.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some story and a great journey. Thanks for sharing that. So now I have rapid fire for you, a couple of things that I wanted to learn, which, and I want to share this with the community because they'll benefit too. So I just want to understand that how does strategic UX writing make business impact? Can
Mm.
you share some specific real world examples? Because this forum is for the leaders who want to learn from this and make business decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few ways that I cover in the book how to that everything we're doing in the UX should be having business impact, and it should be having user impact. We need to know what the business goals are so we can meet those. We need to know what the user's goals are so we can meet those. Like those should be working in tandem. When they're not, we have a larger issue that possibly the UX can't solve. So when we're working on the UX content in order to meet the business goals, I want to say, well, what are our metrics? Do we have an engagement metric that we want to make sure that people come back in a certain frequency, or that we want to make sure that they go deeply through the flow, right? And not, we often have funnels, right? That we can measure, do people go all the way through those funnels beyond the sales funnel, like, but they're in the flow itself.
Yeah.
And for those, we can use content to say, where are people dropping out? Are they dropping out because they don't understand? Are they dropping out because it no longer feels like it will meet their need, or it no longer feels like they can be successful, right? And we need to know, can we increase their confidence? Can we increase their willingness? Do we need a sense of anticipation? And we can do all of those things with content, right?
True.
We do all of the, like, content is what carries any novel you've ever read to build the anticipation, to build the engagement. And there's some terrible novels that you never finish, right? And
True.
by adjusting content, we can get people more engaged. We can also reduce cost overall. So when I worked at OfferUp, we had there's ways. So OfferUp is a buying and selling platform, a peer-to-peer buying and selling platform. And sometimes you meet with somebody and you're like, this is a scam, and you want to report them. And there should be an easy way to do that. And the way it used to be that when you would get to the place in the app where you could report them, there were many options, but it was hard to differentiate among them because of the way they were written. They were clear, all the information is there, but because of the way they were written, they were hard to scan, they were hard to differentiate among. And then, so people would choose one of them, sometimes it felt like at random, and make their report. Well, what that meant is for the operations team that wanted to follow up on these and see what needs to be improved, or is there somebody that needs to be removed from the platform, or whatever needs to happen. If those aren't categorized appropriately, they're very expensive to follow up on. So we could reduce overall cost by quite a bit by making those labels easier to understand and use so that people accurately self-reported.
Yeah. So it's almost like a conversation with with the folks who are using the product, and that's
Yeah.
what conversational writing is. Great.
Yes.
That's an
Yeah.
excellent example. So this is leading to my next question: that does the conversational writing style work for all apps? Which
Yes.
apps benefit the most from this kind of writing?
So conversationalness, it really means two things in the way that we use American English and the way that we talk. One of the things it means is just a casual conversational style. And it means that maybe we're talking over coffee one day and it doesn't really mean anything. And that's not what I'm talking about. So in the book, when I use the word conversational, I say this is about honoring the basic mode of interaction that a human has. And the basic mode for a human to interact with anything is by talking it out, right? There's turn taking. We find this like across the planet, in every culture, in every language form. There are patterns of communication that we can say that is conversational, right? That is what it means to be a human and interact. So when we design conversationally, we remember that these users, as we call them, are people. They are full people. They have lots of things going on in their heads, but besides what's in front of them right now and the conversation they're in right now. And hopefully we have some idea, because they're in our experience that we're designing for, we have some idea of why they're there, what they might want, what we might need from them in order to do that. And so it's on us to guide them through that conversation. Just like if you are the I don't know if you've ever worked in like direct customer service, like at a customer service counter where humans are like walking up to you and you have no idea what they're about to come up with.
True.
But
I have been in one of those kind of jobs for a brief period, but not for a very long time. Thankfully, I'm not there.
I've been in a few, but I think the most memorable for that was one of the very first jobs I had um, uh, in sort of as a college side job. And it was working in the Filene's department store customer service counter. And we did gift wrapping and we did returns, and you could pay your bills and you could come with complaints. And then every other thing that people would come to me with.
Mhm.
And I think I was 18 years old and I had no answers for anybody. But of course, I thought I did. At this point in my life, I can say I know I don't. Um, but the secret to success there was to lead people, like as soon as you could identify why they were there, to lead them through a procedure where it's like, oh, you're here to pay your bill. What's your name? How much did you want to pay on that? Did you want to know what the balance is? Right. And you could lead them through. Wow, that just came back to me super fast. You could lead them through that conversation. And that is what I do as a designer now, is I lead people through these conversations just in a, you know, mediated form and millions of people at a time.
Nice. Wow. So, when you talk about millions of people, and especially if people are spread out, they're in different geographies, then do you see challenges with translating that content into various languages if it's written in a
Yes.
conversational style? And does it increase the localization cost?
Yeah. So the difference here again is it conversational like a style, like it's casual, or is it conversational like um, I am recognizing that you are a human and I am respecting that. And the recognizing that people are humans and respecting that, that is not a localization barrier. That is actually something that crosses internationalization. Like, oh, you're respecting that I am here and I am investing my time and energy and possibly money. Everybody loves that,
Yeah.
frankly. When it's a conversational style and a casual style, that is just as hard to translate as a formal style, because formal in, oh, Connecticut means a different thing than formal in Los Angeles,
You bet.
means a different thing than formal in Iceland, which means a different thing than formal in London. Like that is, and I could say the same thing about casual. So, yes, localization needs to have professional help always. If if you have decided that you want your business to take advantage of all of the attributes that come along with brand, if your brand is important to you, then you're going to invest in voice, you're going to invest in style, and you're going to invest in localization to everywhere you want to bring it.
You are able to read my mind because you're just leading me to my next question, which is about the style. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I have a question around how do you achieve consistency with the conversation writing style, and that too
Yeah.
across the tech writing department, because each person would write or converse so differently from the other.
Yes.
So how do you achieve that? What is the success formula for that?
So the where I have found some success in this is to define it at a high but practical level. So let me explain what I mean.
Mhm.
To start with principles, to say, um, uh, so for Xbox, we needed the style of the language in Xbox to be clean, casual, and keep people playing. Right, like that is the style:
Mhm.
clean, casual, and keep people playing. So how do we keep people on board with that? Well, part of what we did was just make sure that everybody knew that that was the style. And we did that by putting posters up in all of the buildings. This is in 2013. And
Great
we,
idea.
goofy posters, all of the buildings. And on every poster was an email alias that they could say, it was, do you have strings to write? Reach out to Xbox writers. Reach out and we'll help you with that. So there was that sort of consultative mode of doing it, and also just awareness, like, hey, there is a guiding light. Good, people need to know. And then what I've done at other places where I didn't have a team, or I wasn't part of a team that could handle requests from a multi-thousand person organization, is to say, okay, here's our principles. And then here are the 6 things we can change about the text. We can change what we talk about. We can change the language we choose to use, like the vocabulary that we repeat over and over again. We can choose the verbosity, like how much language do we tend to use? Do we use a lot of long sentences or very, very short phrases?
Yeah.
Do we use, what kind of grammar do we use? Do we use passive or active, very simple, or do we tend to use complex phrases? And then do we use, what kind of capitalization do we use and where? And what kind of punctuation do we use and where? And so what I've done is I've made a grid of like, here are our principles that we want to hit. And in order to hit this principle in this moment in the UI, we want to talk about these things with these words, with this many words, with this kind of grammar, and with this punctuation and capitalization. And once we can do that, then it's all on one page. It's not, the Microsoft Technical Manual of Style, which is an amazing document, but is also a doorstop of content. If it's all on one page, then it's like, oh, wait, I can get on target this way. I can say, hey, I want it to be efficient, and I want to show that I'm being efficient, so I'm going to do it this way. This gives me guidelines to go in that direction. So again, it's awareness. You have to know that there's a direction you want to go. But really, if we break it down that way, there's a few things we can do with language to get there. And of course, the punctuation and capitalization work differently language to language by a long shot. And so does grammar, right? Like English is blessed with many different grammatical options, mostly because we've stolen from every language we've ever come across.
Well said. Yep. And looks like that your book has a lot of all these nuggets hidden all over the place. Can you talk a little bit about your book, Strategic UX Writing? Who is it targeted at? What are the key takeaways that people can benefit from?
Yeah, it is targeted toward people who are responsible for a product, who, especially if they're responsible for the UX of the product. So whether they are going to be the full-time writers themselves, or a product owner who knows that they've got limited UX budget to spend, and they know even less about color than they do about language. So they know they're going to invest it elsewhere. So it is and also I've had engineers reach out to me and say, this demystifies it. So it was written for people responsible for reaching humans with their product. And it was, so to just say a few things about it, it's with the idea of what can I use it for? Like, what levers does this pull? If I really use the language intentionally, what can it do for me? So it talks about what different kinds of language are there to do. And specifically for UX content, sort of the language of doing, letting people do what they're there to do in an experience. How do I measure that? How do I magnify that? How do I get in and start when the page is blank? And how do I improve it with an eye to voice and that style thing we talked about? And also just core usability. What are the heuristics that say this makes content good? As far as we know right now, this is good content. And it also has a couple sections in there for people who don't. So it has a section of sort of starter ways to write different common elements of the language, like just patterns. Like if you're writing an error message, use the title to tell people what to do next, how to get themselves unstuck. And if you do that, the people will be happier because they will be unstuck a little bit faster. right? So things like that to get people going. And then also for the people who are starting this as a new career,
Hmm.
because there are vastly more people in this career now than
Yep.
there were even 2 years ago. I give my 30, 60, 90-day plan for here is how I ramp up in a new software team who's never had a content pro before. And how do I get them started? How do I get me started and have me be successful there?
Wow. Thanks a lot for sharing all those details. I know that in my company, the entire UX team has ordered that copy and they are reading this book. I have ordered my
Oh,
copy already, and I'm waiting to get my hands on that. And I hope people who are listening to this session will also go and order that copy and benefit from all the details that you shared. Excellent. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
well, thank you so much.
Thanks for doing this interview.